of a nightlife influencer desperate for answers. Who wanted her dead? Tonight, investigators say they are making progress. Ariela Mejia Polanco was gunned down 8 days ago while driving her Mercedes SUV on the Cross County Parkway in Mount Vernon.
Yeah, Tekashi 6ix9ine just lost one of his sisters, and the way it went down. Man, it's wild. And if you're asking, does her death have to do with the 6ix9ine arrest and his 2019 testimony? Yape. This video is about to answer that. So, check this. Ariela Mejia Polanco, 33, nightlife queen, 500,000 followers, energy for days. She wasn't just another influencer, she was that person who made every room feel lighter. But on August 17th, 2025, she didn't make it home. Her black Mercedes, sitting dead on the shoulder of Cross County Parkway, hazard lights blinking like a heartbeat that just stopped, bullet holes all over, glass scattered everywhere, and inside, Ariela slumped forward. Gone. No accident. This was a straight-up execution style. The crazy part? Hours earlier, she was all smiles, posting stories at Icon, New York, vibing like nothing could touch her. And you know what? That's what makes this hit harder. One moment, champagne and laughter. Next morning, silence. Now, here's where it gets messy. Was someone jealous of the life she showed off? Or was there some dark chapter in her past she thought was buried? Because cops, they're saying this wasn't random. Whoever did this meant it. Back in 2018, Tekashi 6999 was impossible to ignore. Rainbow hair, tattoos on his face, and a wild energy that screamed, "Look at me." He was dropping hits that went viral in hours and beefing with just about everyone in the industry. But it was not just music. There were court cases, gang ties, and headlines that made you wonder how long he could keep running this fast without it all crashing down. And yet he did what most people could not do. He stayed famous, stayed relevant, and kept the money rolling in. Yeah, Tekashi was messy, but he was magnetic. And somewhere in that same year, another name started glowing, Ariela Mejia Polanco. But she was not rapping or starting fights online. Her world was all about nightlife, fashion bold enough to turn heads, dance videos that made people stop scrolling, and those peeks inside New York's most exclusive clubs. She launched her Instagram in 2018, and by 2025, over 550,000 people were tuned in daily. TikTok? Another 115,000 watching her move like she owned every beat. Her luxury SUV, the same one that would become a crime scene, was part of the image. Posts with the car, the outfits, the lifestyle. But beyond the filters, Ariela was a mom first. 2 kids, a daughter and a son, were her real-world anchors. She was even planning her daughter's quinceañera, with notes laid out on her kitchen counter the morning her life was taken. Friends say she did everything for her kids, even if she did not post that side as much. But those who knew her saw it, the warmth, the humility, the way she treated people with care even when her status was rising. By 2025, she was not just part of New York nightlife, she was one of the faces of it. Clubs like Icon New York and Opus Lounge were not just places she worked. They were stages where her charisma turned regular nights into something unforgettable. She had built an image, a following, a brand. And yes, her circle had grown too, pulling her into rooms with people like Tekashi. When news of her death hit, Tekashi did not hold back. He posted tributes, called her his wife, and poured out grief to millions of his fans. But here is the thing. Was their connection just friendship in the nightlife world? Or was there more to it, something deeper that could have drawn dangerous attention? A link to a history so dangerous it would follow Ariela all the way to her final moments. Yeah, this story runs deeper than flashy posts and nightlife lights. Ariela's relationship with controversial rapper Daniel Hernandez, better known as Tekashi 6ix9ine, stayed mostly under wraps until tragedy made it impossible to ignore. Their connection first went public when she popped up in his 2023 music video, a move that pushed her audience beyond the Dominican and Latino communities where she first built her following. But the depth of their bond only came out through his grief. Hours after the news of her murder broke, Tekashi's Instagram blew up with tributes. He posted videos and photos of their time together, calling her the most beautiful heart and the Queen of New York. In Spanish, he called her Mogra, my wife. That one post told everyone just how close they were. The flood of celebrity condolences that followed only amplified the shock. Cardi B, another Dominican-American from New York, shared her own tribute, taking Ariela's story worldwide. But all that visibility, all that high-profile attention, may have done more than build her brand. It may have made her a bigger target. Because here is where things get dark. In 2018, the very same year Ariela launched her Instagram account, she was caught up in a nightmare she never saw coming. Members of the 9 Gangster Bloods kidnapped her. A case of mistaken identity, but one that changed everything. They thought she was one of Tekashi's girlfriends. The 9 gang had a history with Tekashi that was anything but simple. He had once run with them, flashing gang ties in music videos and living that life. But when it all came crashing down, he did the unthinkable in street culture. He testified against them in federal court, a move that earned him the label of snitch in hip-hop circles. But he was not the only one. Ariela had a choice: stay silent or testify. She chose to take the stand. She told federal court exactly what went down during her abduction, a move that helped prosecutors send multiple 9 members to prison. Brave, yes, but dangerous too. Because gangs like that do not forget. For years, Ariela seemed to have moved past it. Her social media presence exploded. She became a face of nightlife, a star in her own right. But with every post, every luxury car photo, every tag that told the world where she was, she may have been leaving breadcrumbs for someone who wanted payback. The life she built became a roadmap to her death. And then came Saturday, August 16th, 2025. Just another work night. Ariela arrived at Icon, New York around 9 in the evening, dressed to turn heads, outfit already up on her socials. Security footage shows her smiling, hugging regulars, moving behind the bar like she owned the energy of the room. Between mixing drinks, she filmed clips for her story, dancing with co-workers, hyping the crowd, promoting weekend specials. At 11:43 p.m., she posted a video with the caption "Saturday Vibes," raising a glass with friends. Her last post went up at 1:17 a.m., a boomerang of her blowing a kiss to the camera, the Icon New York logo glowing behind her. She wrote, "Love my people." Hours later, she was gone. Co-workers said nothing about that night felt off. Ariela laughed, danced, and even told a few regulars about her daughter's upcoming birthday celebration. She talked about starting a YouTube channel, expanding her brand. It was business as usual. According to the manager, she left Icon New York around 3:30 a.m., helping close out the bar before heading to the employee lot alone. Cameras caught her walking to her black Mercedes, phone in hand, keys jingling. An ordinary night frozen in digital fragments, becoming her last. Somewhere between that parking lot and sunrise, Ariela crossed paths with the person who would end her life. By the time her 550,000 followers opened Instagram the next morning, they were not seeing new posts from her. They were seeing breaking news alerts, headlines, RIP messages flooding timelines. At 7:52 a.m., a Westchester County officer responded to a call about a disabled vehicle on the Cross County Parkway. The black Mercedes sat on the shoulder, hazard light still blinking. Glass scattered across the pavement. Bullet holes punched through the driver's side. Inside, Ariela was slumped over, unresponsive. Emergency responders pronounced her dead right there. The medical examiner confirmed what the scene already screamed. Multiple gunshot wounds, not random, not sloppy. Whoever fired those shots was deliberate. Every angle of the car told investigators the same thing. This was a professional hit. By Sunday afternoon, Westchester police announced Ariela's death was not a random act. Translation: somebody wanted her gone. Badly. Her luxury SUV, the same one she had proudly showcased on her socials, was now surrounded by yellow tape, shell casings on the asphalt, flashing lights reflecting off shattered glass. The final image of a life lived loud, cut down, quiet. Outside Opus Lounge, friends and co-workers gathered around a growing memorial. Photos of Ariela, candles, flowers, people crying, people angry. One friend simply said, "She was always happy, always beautiful." And that is how most people remembered her. The influencer known as Ariela Lang Costa. 500,000 followers, a rising star, gone. Cardi B posted "R.I.P. Dominican Pretty" on Instagram, sending shockwaves through the Dominican community and beyond. The caption was simple, but the message was heavy. And while the city mourned, detectives went to work, piecing together who pulled the trigger and why. Because someone out there had been waiting years for this moment, and they finally took it. By August 2025, no arrests had been made. Police weren't saying much, but insiders whispered about leads tied to her past testimony. Still, no names, no charges. For Ariela's family and her followers, the silence hurt almost as much as the loss. Would her killer ever face justice? Or was this headed toward becoming just another unsolved New York case? By Monday morning, her Instagram page had become a digital memorial. Thousands of comments poured in under her final post. Shock, heartbreak, disbelief. People wrote as if they had lost a friend, not just a face on their feed. Outside Opus Lounge, a crowd grew. Candles flickered against the Harlem night, flowers piled high. Printed portraits of Ariela caught the glow of phone cameras as hundreds whispered prayers, many openly crying. Jacelia Rodriguez, a friend, stood in front of reporters and said through tears, "She was light, pure light. This world makes no sense without her." Econ New York closed for 4 days in her honor. Their Instagram statement read, "Today we lost our shining star, Ariela Langasta. We love you and we will miss you forever." The Dominican community gathered in Washington Heights, holding prayer services where attendees dressed in white, peace and remembrance. Tekashi 69's tribute, calling her the Queen of New York, only amplified the pain, drawing international eyes to a story already gripping the city. Other artists shared memories, tribute videos flooded social media, and hashtags like "Justice for Ariela" started trending nationwide. But her children? They were shielded from cameras, tucked away with family who asked for privacy. The home where she once hosted small family parties now stood silent, surrounded by cars and visitors who had no words. For New York's nightlife scene, her death wasn't just personal, it was a wake-up call. Fame, especially the kind built on showing your life online, comes with exposure. Too much of it. One club owner put it bluntly, "We're all just one wrong connection away from disaster." The case stayed open, details tightly guarded. Investigators weren't saying when the shots were fired, whether Ariela was driving or stopped, who had been following her. Only a small circle of people knew, and they weren't talking. And that raised the hardest question of all. What kind of world do we live in, where doing the right thing, cooperating with justice, can cost you your life years later? Ariela's story is more than a headline. It's the reality of modern fame. She went from a Dominican immigrant chasing a better life to a social media star with 500,000 people watching. But visibility is a double-edged sword. Every post, every location tag, every glimpse into her life became a map for whoever wanted her gone. She lived between worlds, nightlife pro and loving mom, influencer and reluctant witness against dangerous people. Those worlds finally collided on the cross-county parkway. The black Mercedes that once symbolized her success became the scene of her final chapter. The investigation continues. But the lesson: fame can bring opportunity. It can also paint a target on your back. Every post leaves a trail. Every photo, every location tag, every glimpse of life online. It all builds a map. Ariela's story forces us to ask a hard question. How much of ourselves do we really need to share? But here's what hits harder. Someone out there planned this. Someone pulled the trigger and walked away, leaving 500,000 people staring at their screens in disbelief. And now, with no arrests and no answers, the silence feels like a second crime. So who do we blame? The person who killed her, the system that failed to protect her, or a culture that turns visibility into vulnerability? Maybe the answer isn't simple. Maybe it never will be. But what's clear is this: stories like Ariela's can't just vanish into another unsolved headline. They should haunt us, push us to question how fame, risk, and justice collide in a world where everyone is watching, and yet no one sees enough to stop the worst from happening. Share her story. Talk about what this means for creators, parents, and communities. And don't stop until this conversation becomes bigger than one tragedy. Because the moment we stop talking, the moment we forget, is the moment her killer truly wins. Till we meet again in the next story, stay sharp, stay safe, and stay human. And if this shook you, subscribe. The next story might be the one you or someone you love needs to hear.